Hello all and welcome. The topic of this upcoming discussion is on facilitation. In the first episode, we will be discussing what's involved in facilitating and question techniques facilitators can use. Stay tuned to learn more. I'm here today moderating a podcast with Paloma Tweet, our manager of our team, of our instructional design and development team. And she's going to be talking to us today about a topic, facilitation. Now, facilitation skills are essential for managing discussions during meetings as well as during training sessions. A skilled facilitator helps teams narrow in on a topic and achieve creative solutions and consensus. By incorporating facilitation skills into your meeting culture, you can have more productive and effective meetings. So I want to start off, what is involved in facilitation?
Well, facilitation is about managing discussions. So to break this down a little bit further, managing discussions involves asking participants questions to help them generate ideas about a topic, and also helping teams, if you're facilitating a team meeting or a training session, helping the participants make decisions.
Okay, now when you say questions, what kind of questions do facilitators ask?
So there are a lot of types of questions out there, but I think really skilled facilitators utilize these four. So skilled facilitators know when to use open-ended questions, close-ended questions, hypothetical questions, and also more Socratic method type questions.
Okay, now I've heard quite a few of these before, but I've never really dived into kind of what they are. So when would you use an open-ended question?
Well, open-ended questions, I think generally people know what those are. I like to think of them as like the therapist technique, right? It requires more than a one-word answer, and it's really used to stimulate discussion and encourage people to consider how their past experiences are being applied to the current situation or topic of discussion.
Now, what about close-ended questions? Because when I think close-ended, I just think of yes/no type question, yes/no type answers. But when would you use a close-ended question?
Yeah, so they are yes/no type answers, or just very limited response type answers. I like to think of these as the investigator's technique. They're very much focused on fact-finding, and they're preferable when the facilitator wants to check the participants' understanding about something, or just get input from people, but really wants to limit that input to a very narrow response. So that's when a close-ended type of question would be used in a meeting or a training session by a facilitator.
What about hypothetical? And I think personally I might get confused sometimes about, hypothetical versus open-ended. So what is the difference there, and when would you use a hypothetical?
Well, hypothetical questions, yeah, I would say they are kind of a version of open-ended questions, but hypothetical questions are used to really get people to think very freely about a situation or a scenario where there aren't necessarily any wrong answers. And this facilitation technique really encourages people to consider different perspectives and approaches to a situation.
Okay, so I can consider hypothetical as, answering from a perspective of not having experience to draw on and a what-if situation, as opposed to open-ended, having experience to draw on and, reach a conclusion that way.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
Okay, beautiful. Now, Socratic method of questioning, what is that? Because I can say personally that I have not encountered that, or maybe I have, I just didn't know it was called Socratic method of questioning.
This is a self-directed learner technique, so it encourages people to arrive at their own conclusions by just asking them critical thinking questions. So they're examining the content or the topic at hand.
Okay, with identifying what those questions are and when you would utilize those questions as a facilitator, let's consider a scenario really quick. So if you were facilitating a training session on X, Y, and Z, and noticed a participant being shy about joining in the training activities, how might you use the questioning techniques to help the participant open up?
That's a good scenario. So, like you're saying, let's say we're facilitating a training session on financial management, right?
Okay.
And, like you said, the participant is being hesitant to participate. Using a question like, how might cash flow help your business? An open-ended type of question would really help them start to think about their past experiences and really start applying it to the topic at hand, so they gain more confidence in their ability to contribute. Our goal as a facilitator, whether it's a small team meeting or a large training session, is to create a safe learning environment. So especially for those more reserved types, really helping them to feel safe and comfortable contributing is important, and a open-ended question would really help to almost like trigger those past experiences and remind them that, oh, I do have some knowledge to share that relates to this. So a more open-ended type question would be a good technique there.
Great. Thank you, Paloma, for sharing a little bit about what's involved in facilitation and some questions facilitators can use. In our next episode, we'll be discussing methods facilitators use to generate ideas and how to enable decisions. Until next time.